All right, everyone, chalk up another prediction win. Of course, the other day in the live stream, I had to tell people, there were like in the news reports, is Nikki Haley going to contest the Republican National Convention? She's going to go in there with her like 10 delegates, and she's going to try to convince the Republican Party that they should ignore about 90% of GOP voters and go with her as the nominee instead of Donald Trump. Well, that will not be happening. She has confirmed she will be voting for Donald Trump. She has implicitly endorsed him. She gets short of saying glowing things about him. I think it's the non-committal stance is she's like, well, you may end up in prison or something like that, and maybe things fall apart. And so you don't want to be too committal because you want a political future. In Nikki Haley's case, she doesn't have one, but she's delusional enough so that she stayed in through Super Tuesday. That means she's probably delusional enough to think that she can seek office again, and that all of those votes for her weren't Democrats crossing over, knowing Biden's going to win it anyway, and taking a GOP ballot in the open primary states in order to fuck with Donald Trump and inflate the TDS vote. That was mostly Democrats doing that. They were never going to vote for Trump in the first place. When people said, oh, Trump is failing to get 90% in some of these states, he's running unopposed. Well, yeah, because Democrats can vote in those primaries. Now look at the states where, the primaries were closed or fully or partially closed. There's a little bit of a differential there now, isn't there? Quite a gap opens up. It's because 2/3 of those were Democrats and the rest are TDS sufferers. He can't get their votes either, so he does not care. Nikki Haley has kissed ring. Tacitly, again, implicitly. She's saying she's going to vote for Trump. And she says, look, Biden's been a total chaotic disaster. There's no way to fucking support him. We must defeat him. So, sigh, I begrudgingly will vote for Donald Trump. That's what it basically boils down to. And it was inevitable. It was utterly inevitable that Nikki Haley was eventually going to come out and say this. She waited for a while, though. I think part of the impetus might be she's looking at the Cohen testimony in the case with Alvin Bragg in that court, and she's saying, well, I thought that, there's a possibility that Trump gets jailed, and she probably presumes that'll hurt his election chances. I maybe differ in my analysis of it, but that's what a lot of people would think. And so she was more non-committal, but then, the testimony wraps up and magically, 48 hours later, she effectively endorses Donald Trump. It's entirely self-serving. It's not going to do her any favors. She's burned that bridge. DeSantis can come back from it. He dropped out early, and he endorsed Trump. He's campaigning for him. I don't expect to see Nikki Haley on the campaign trail for him. Nor, if I were Trump, would I ask her to do so. I wouldn't want her any goddamn where near me. She is political poison, and Donald, please do not attempt to make her a campaign surrogate or a proxy, because there's nowhere in the country that she's going to make a meaningful impact anyway. She doesn't have the support. She has the support of people who won't vote for you because they're TDS sufferers, or people that were Democrats crossing the aisle in order to pull the ballot for her in order to troll you. That was her coalition towards the end. DeSantis endorsed Trump. There's still people salty about that, but he dropped out early enough to save face. And now he's a campaign proxy. He's mainly in Texas and Florida. By the way, that's a perfect idea for the Trump campaign. DeSantis has disproportionate support in those states. It will be very helpful. It's sort of like, you're not going to trot out Greg Abbott to go after Minnesota voters, for example. You've got to keep it more local or regional. And that's where DeSantis will do well. But there's nowhere that Nikki Haley's going to do well. You'd alienate more voters than you'd bring aboard by using her as a proxy. She's politically toxic. She has completely destroyed her political career. Everyone else there, they've still got a possibility of getting... Mike Pence has a better opportunity at getting back into politics than Nikki Haley does at this point. I don't think she fully realizes that, by the way. But anyway, she said she's voting for Trump. That basically puts an end to any TDS revolutionary fervor. Democrats will continue to maybe troll on the open primary ballots, but this will reabsorb 99% of the TDS suffering Republicans that for some reason genuinely thought that she was their gal. That'll reabsorb them real easily. And it's a ring-kissing moment. Which is funny because there was literally a quip by Haley back in February saying, well, I don't feel the need to kiss the ring. My political decisions are irrelevant at the moment. I mean, they always were. Just saying that, you didn't need to even drop out of the primaries. You won 2 states. They happen to be the bluest states in the nation. That's because Democrats knew that Biden was going to win anyway. And I mean, in state of Vermont, 70% registered Democrats. No. Trump didn't manage to win that state? No. Really? I wonder why. D.C., which is like 90% Democrats. Oh, I'm so surprised that Orange Man didn't manage to prevail there. She got the two most blue enclaves of the country in the Republican primaries, which I find absolutely hilarious, by the way. We're still, by the way, on the 24/7 watch for who Trump chooses as his running mate, because tick, tick, tock, Donald, we're getting on towards June. Now would probably be a pretty good time to tell the American public who's going to be debating Kamala Harris, because we're waiting with bated breath. I mean, it's almost orgasmic, just waiting for it. It's going to be hilarious. Really hoping for Tulsi Gabbard myself still. There are others that are perfectly fine, and the short list it deviates wildly. For instance, I think it would be stupid to pick Doug Burgum. You have him in your cabinet, but I mean, he doesn't bring anything to the table. Tim Scott's better. He's in the upper half, if not the upper quarter. Rubio's acceptable. Vance would be fine, but it would be kind of an adversarial relationship because he likes to be the big man in the room too. And again, my analysis is that Trump would be hesitant to do that. One thing we know, though, it won't be Nikki Haley. He has already confirmed that, by the way. Another prediction fulfilled. All the people are like, well, the deep state is going to force him to have Haley as a running mate, and then they're going to off him, and we'll have our first female president. She'll be a neocon. He already confirmed in black and white that she's not being considered for that role. I don't think that he's considering her for a cabinet position either. He worked with her before. She stabbed him in the back. Trump doesn't work well with people who do that. He is a corporate boardroom cutthroat. Funnily enough, now that I think about it, probably time for a little side swipe here. Anytime that you talk about Nikki Haley, you end up talking mainly about other people. That's how irrelevant that she became. I mean, this is barely registering in the news cycle. And nobody even cares. Nikki Haley says she'll vote for Trump. Wow. 5 minutes later, it's going to get pushed out of the news cycle. By the time that this video processes, it'll have dropped to page B, probably. Or page C. Or just they took the link down because nobody was reading it. That's why I archive everything to get them even less clicks than before. It was just yesterday that I was expressing doubt that she would contest the convention. They were astroturfing it. I think the legacy media wanted that to happen. Because there's going to be chaos at the Democratic National Convention. Assuming that they even hold it in its proper venue. They're thinking about at the last minute swapping it out so that the less rioters will show up. It's going to be a shit show, though. You will see a lot of Gaza protesters outside. You'll probably see counter-protests by Jews as well. You'll probably see leftoids that are there for student loan purposes, as well as other leftoid considerations, and standing like the Union Dems. It's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a freak show. They're going to try to keep the TV cameras well outside of the convention center, but inside it'll be chaotic probably too. The Republican National Convention looks like it's pretty much going to be formulaic. If anything, it might be a little bit on the boring side. But there won't be a bunch of rioters outside. There'll be some pink pussy hats and a few people like that. So they wanted to try creating chaos inside of the convention hall. A last-minute floor vote. Nikki Haley bravely stands before Orange Man. You can't be our nominee. You're under indictment right now. I stand for President of the United States. Something like that. A soaring moment. And the legacy media can astroturf and say how glamorous she was, how well-spoken, how she looked so upright and youthful and vigorous compared to this haggard old man. Something like that was their plan. She, for whatever reason, thinks she has a political career, so she decided to say, okay, I'll vote for Trump, and now exit stage left till the election's over. That is her plan. And this is unfortunate for the TDS sufferers. They're so hoping that there would be that one moment at the convention where the Republicans would look fractious and weak. And discoordinated, as opposed to the Democrats who we know that convention is going to be a freak show. It's going to be a circus. That's about all. Peace out.